to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Hello everyone! Hi!
Hello.
So you're all here for the digital versus physical.
No, you gotta say it correctly. Touch of media. The clash of physical versus digital.
Yeah.
I see you're making a hard drive towards the point.
Yes.
And please, like any of our panels, if this is the first one you've ever been to, please don't be afraid to be interactive. We don't like sitting in silence very well, so.
None of us are very silent people anyway.
No. So, do you want me to go to the next?
No, not yet, because I'm waiting for Paul to get back.
Oh.
But who here buys stuff? Buys anything? Everybody does.
Okay, who here? Well, wait. This is an 18 plus panel, so I'm not going to ask my question.
Yeah, save it for the late night anime panel. Who buys things on physical?
Who buys things on physical?
Who buys it digital only? Oh,
Half and half.
half and half.
Depends.
So you sail the 7 digital seas.
Okay, then the question is, who borrows things digitally?
So for the next hour-ish, I'm going to talk about some positives and negatives between physical and digital media. I am on the spectrum that if I can't physically own it, I won't pay for it. But there are reasons to do digital. And so I'm going to go through doing pros and cons of both, broken up into 6 categories. And hopefully we're going to have fun because I've got a lot of stuff to show off. I'm going to be giving away something at the end of the panel.
And we got other little prizes as well. One of which is Pogs. Do you remember Pogs? From the 90s?
Alpha back in Oxford.
Oh, and I have stickers too.
Yeah, there's plenty of stickers in here.
Who remembers Pogs?
Yeah, please don't actually hit somebody because I work in human resources, so workers' comp is a thing. Oh, but technically the con is, so workers' comp is the thing.
So, the cool thing is you buy stuff and you get something to show for
You
it.
can't stall for too long.
I know, I'm going to be going. And then you get that. All right, next slide. And for those who don't know, I go on YouTube by the name of Kaiju no Kami, and I have a lot of fun. I review Sentai, Kamen Rider, Godzilla, all kinds of cool stuff.
Anime too.
So at the end as well, if you want one of our cards to the channel, because I'm also recording this to put up online, you can go check it out there. So let's just do my little intro to ice break this panel. I suppose you'll call this a confession when you hear it. I don't like the word confession. I just want to set you right about one thing you couldn't see because it was smack up against your nose. You think you're such a hot potato as a claims manager, a regular Detective Conan. Well, maybe you are. You said it was ownership and collectability. Check. You said it was audio and video quality. Check. You said it was community and culture. Check. You thought you had it cold, all packaged up and shrink wrapped with a slipcover around it. It was perfect, except that it wasn't because you made a mistake. Just one tiny little mistake. When it came to picking the culprit, you picked the wrong guy, if you know what I mean. You want to know who actually did the job for that limited edition? It was me. I did it. I did it for money and for a Blu-ray. But I didn't get the money and I didn't get the Blu-ray. Pretty, isn't it? So welcome to the clash of physical versus digital touch of media.
And if you couldn't get it, he loves film noir. Half of our collection predates our birth by about 20 years.
Only 20? Alright, so what is physical and digital? Physical media is, per Webster, having actual physical existence. It's there, it's material. You can touch it, you can look at it. Meanwhile, digital is media, photos, videographs, videos.
Wow, videographs, what year are you in?
Digital content that is there, but you cannot touch it. Next slide. First category I have is broken into ownership and collectability. For physical, we've got pros. It is tangible. You can touch it. You can put it on your shelf. Special editions often will have bonus features.
And be very expensive at the same time, mind you.
This comes with not only the Blu-rays, but also a book.
And it comes with a box. Wow.
Little box. Book that has a whole bunch of information on the show itself.
Now, does anybody have a guess of why I asked him to bring this particular season with us? Just guess. Just out of pure
Go ahead.
yes.
It's worth like $1,000.
No.
There's a very
It's
specific
okay.
reason.
Let me just say, it's Gundam Seed Destiny.
No,
Why-
that's Gundam Seed.
You brought the good one?
Yes.
I told you to bring this shitty. Oh, sorry, not 18 plus. To bring the bad ones, because at least if it got destroyed, we wouldn't be as heartbroken because it's Shin Asuka.
Says you.
But since you did, do you like stickers?
Thanks.
Yes. Like I said, I have a whole bunch of stuff to give away. So they're actually good stickers.
Now-
They're Anime Has Been Hotel and all.
So-
Some people also like the joy of going on the hunt to store after store to find that special edition.
Yes.
How many of you used to shop at Best Buy where you would be there like Tuesday morning every time on a new release day for a new anime? I know, well, I kind of worked there, so I kind of cheated. But when we get stuff in, I'm like, I can't buy it before the street date. Ugh. On the downside, you need to have a lot of space requirements for everything. Sometimes they cost higher. Like sometimes you might be able to buy the digital version for $10 and you might have to buy the physical version for $30, $40, $50 depending on the edition. Also, there is media degradation, where some discs, some DVDs might experience what they have called disc rot.
You may have heard Warner Brothers recently talking about this because they have had certain movies and TV shows that have actually started to literally rot the disc and become unplayable. They are replacing them if the customer asks, but that is a big downside.
We had, and it's not just DVDs, there's also Blu-rays. We actually had a copy of Devilman the OVA that on the disc side, it bubbled. So there was like this giant bubble, so it obviously wouldn't play, but it was like, what the heck? How did this even happen? So you do risk that degradation. And some people may feel compelled to buy every single version.
Oh, like you.
Hello.
Wow, Pot.
Like, quite. So, for example, there's a game company called Limited Run Games. They do all these special editions of games. I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza, like a Dragon franchise. Several months ago, they were doing a special edition of Yakuza 0 that comes with a slip box to hold all the special editions of games 0 through 6. Well, I bought 0, which comes with the box, so you know what? I've got to buy every game to fill that box. So I've ordered all the limited editions to every game they released because I can't just have that box with one game in there. Got to have all 7 in there.
Yeah, my house husband spends all my money.
Godzilla movies. I will buy practically every version that comes out. Oh, a new version just came out. Got to buy it. Same
Is
with
anybody like that, even with digital, where you have to have multiple versions of the same bloody thing?
Hey, you're sitting right next to one.
I know.
I will buy it on Blu-ray. I will buy it on 4K.
But, and this is the problem that comes with it. You have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, here. Well, Go
I
back.
so you have to explain a shelf. It's a shelf.
Space.
Wow.
You need to have a lot of room.
Yes, and these are only 2 of our shelves.
So, digital. Pros. No physical storage space required. You might have it on something like this if you don't just stream it. Maybe something like this.
Or you may be like somebody I know that actually has a server in their house.
You have immediate access to your library wherever you are. So you can be at the airport watching movies. You can be at an anime convention watching movies. You can be wherever you are. Some versions might be cheaper than the physical version.
Anybody ever use Plex while streaming their collection? Yeah. I'm not surprised. It's actually convenient.
And then obviously you don't have to worry about disc rot, and there's no limited editions to rush out to buy. You just have one version and that's it.
But what about the NFTs?
Next, so the cons. Lack of ownership. You don't own this. You can't just have it. The company tells you, oh, you got a license to borrow it, but we might not always have it forever.
You know, the state of California recently passed now that any digital media purchased, if you live in the state of California, has to come with a disclaimer. This is a license that can be taken away from you at any time.
So if the company shuts down for any reason, you lose it.
So I've got here a copy of one anime series, and it came with this. That was, you pay for this and include the price of the Blu-ray. What is this?
Digital download.
No?
Company
What was that?
It's a digital copy of a company that doesn't exist anymore.
This company does not exist anymore. Therefore, that is a piece of garbage. There is nothing.
You are going to pick up that, right?
Yes. There is nothing I can do with that code. I bought it a few months ago, but because Funimation.com was fully shut down, I can't use it. I paid for something I cannot use.
Marcus.
Yeah, I will. Oh, who said the Funimation?
Yeah, please, once again, workers' comp is a thing.
And then, no limited or bonus content.
So, like I mentioned on the ownership, there are some companies, I will say Steam does give you, because we were talking about that earlier, does give you a little bit more ownership of your content as long as you maintain your account. However, not all companies are like that.
Yeah,
so
Valve's one of the few that'll actually, if you have it in your will, your Steam account can go to somebody else.
wow, you can will out your Steam account?
Yeah.
That is pretty damn cool.
So my next category is cost. Cost has a few things involved. One, it mainly revolves around the manufacturer. They have to spend money to produce a disc, author the disc, package it up, ship it out.
And just think, with the tariffs, Mexican produced discs are going to get more expensive.
Yeah, a lot of anime companies produce their discs in Mexico.
Not just anime companies, Sony produces all their game discs in Mexico.
But the pro is you get the long-term value out of it. If this right here is a limited edition, if I decide to sell it off, I'd probably be able to make at least my money back, maybe even more. So if you decide, you know what, I don't like this series after all, I'm going to sell it off.
If you sell that, I will murder you.
You can get your money back.
Just look at Pokemon games with their cartridges on the price of them now. You go on eBay, the average price of a game when they came out was like $40 to $60. Most games sell on eBay now for $150 to $300.
And most Atlas games, usually you can buy 3 times. If you on the resale market, you can charge twice the amount and actually get it for a lot of them.
I have Poison Pink on the PS2.
Now,
The game is so rare.
it may not
I can
always
make $1,000 off of it.
It may not always work out like this set here, Cyborg 0091. This is not really worth much of anything on the resale market, so it's actually, you'd be taking a loss to sell it off. But the opportunity was still there that you're like, I may be able to resell this off.
Well, I also look at it is there's always this sunk cost syndrome. So if you pay a cost once, you don't have to pay for it again unless you break it and have to rebuy it.
Go to comments.
Huh?
Go to comments.
I know. I know how to use PowerPoint. It's amazing. I
Now-
know, isn't it fantastic?
Some physical media typically uses higher costs and ongoing costs to keep collecting. As I said, oh, I got volume 1. Well, I need volume 2. I need volume 3. And then, special edition volume 1? Oh, no, since I bought special edition volume 1, I gotta buy special edition volume 2. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex many years ago had limited editions where each volume would also come with a soundtrack or cards. One would include an art box to hold the whole series. It was pretty cool. Rastafan did that, where you would get the volume 1 with the box, and then as you collected the rest of the series.
Yeah, never bother trying to put that back.
Well, and then Noir, when it came out, came with, and it's volume 1 box, that t-shirt and a pair of glasses that you're able to look at and find out how to access hidden special features
They
on
used to
each
have cool
DVD.
t-shirts.
Is that? Whose t-shirt is that?
That's mine.
Same.
Okay, I was like, we don't have the
Alright, so now digital, our pros.
Not necessarily, though. I will say that with a little asterisk on the lower upfront cost.
Yeah, most of the time you will be paying less. More affordable for people to access larger content. If you have a subscription to Crunchyroll, you get their entire library, not just one specific series. And you don't have to pay for shipping and packaging costs. Companies don't have to pay for packaging and shipping costs.
But tell me why a video game, let's just use this as an example, why this game physically, if it was like a PS5, would be $75, but you go on to PlayStation Network and have to buy the same game for $75. You're not getting anything.
Or let's take a look at God of War Ragnarok when it came out. Its
Now-
limited editions were $200 with no physical game.
Now with digital, you have Crunchyroll, you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon, Disney, Hulu, HBO Max, or whatever they just call it now, Max,
Just Max.
and many, many other things. Those all add up. The whole point of streaming service at the beginning was to get away from cable. Now when you add them all together, you're paying more than what cable was.
And if you think about your sailing the 7 seas, so to speak, to acquire or borrow or however you want to categorize it, you then actually, and this is a true story, you then run the risk, even with a VPN, so don't think VPNs are a great get out of jail free card, because they're not, you do run the risk of getting caught, and my brother-in-law got fined $3,000 for his lovely journey sailing the 7 seas. That was truthfully not worth it in the long run. But it was worth it to me that he got charged for it because he's an asshole, but that's nonetheless. So you run the risk even with a good VPN because
Your ISP.
cybersecurity is getting better than it did before.
Your ISP can still track you when you're using a VPN nowadays.
Now, I will not say I'm an expert, so anybody who does work in that field who knows more, you may know other ways to prevent that, but from my experiences, this is what I've been told and this is what I've seen.
Now, there is also no resale value. You buy something digitally and you don't like it, tough, you're stuck with it. You
You
can't
may-
sell it off to someone, even for $5, you're just stuck.
Yeah, a lot of companies will give you a 14-day grace period to refund you on the product, but if you let that lapse, you're SOL.
Convenience and accessibility.
Alright, so our next category is convenience and accessibility. That is basically how easy it is for you to acquire it and for being able to view it. The great thing about pros for physical media is you can watch your content anytime. You don't need an internet connection. You just go, you put the disc into the machine, and it starts playing.
You
As
do
long
need
as-
electricity though.
Yeah, and you better hope your Blu-ray player has the most recent update.
Well, not always. But there's no reliance on an external service. You don't need to have something else to play that disc. All you need is the TV and the player. Except, that's also a con. you need to have a TV and a player with it. If you don't have a Blu-ray player, you can't play a Blu-ray. If you don't have a Blu-ray player that can do 4K, this 4K from Japan is not going to do you any good.
And if you buy something from another bloody country, you better have the right player. What?
I just wanted to point out, Blu-rays as opposed to DVDs, they actually have stronger encryption DRM on them.
Yep.
There's actually no way legally to play Blu-rays on Linux right now. There are ways to get around
Oh.
it, but it's a cat and mouse game of people breaking the encryption. And then new Blu-rays actually update your player to add more encryption on.
Seriously?
When you put them in sometimes.
So it has like.
When DVDs were cracked, that was it forever because they didn't have that system, so they put that into Blu-rays. That if somebody cracks the encryption, the next set of Blu-rays they burn will actually update your player.
That
Is that why-
is insane.
Is that why 4K became region free? They
That
just
was
gave
one
up.
of the 4K is involved with the encryption too. It's got stronger than.
That's why you use Make MKV.
I have no idea. That's insane because I knew they did things against Linux because apparently nobody likes Linux and I don't understand why.
Linux can
Well,
break
even on
this.
Windows, there are stories of people you have to buy proprietary programs like Cyberlink Power DVD or whatever if you want to play it on Windows because not all Blu-rays will work, which is Windows Movie Player or whatever.
Oh my lord.
Now, there is one major problem with physical that you don't have to do with digital, and that is bringing everything with you. You're going on a trip, you have to bring your any collection you want to watch, you need to do. If you're going to an anime convention to do a panel on physical versus digital, you've got to bring all your stuff to show it off, because it's not going to be as fun if you don't.
Oh, that was fun for today.
Yep.
It's great to have to like travel 5 minutes away from your home to stay at a bloody hotel and bring all of this and you're like, why don't I just move in?
Moving across country
Oh,
is
that's
going to be okay because
great.
we're moving to another state later on this year, and it's just we've already got about 40 boxes full of stuff. It's like, and we haven't even touched the actual meat of the collection because
40? Where are you getting 40 from now? I'm afraid.
the ones in the closet.
I have 20.
Okay, whatever. And like I'm also an action figure collector, so I also have a full room. We have one bedroom that's just an action figure museum.
That's why I'm getting a divorce.
Too expensive.
Yeah, you are too expensive. That's why I'm getting a divorce.
Now, really?
No.
Because you were getting my hopes up.
You're too expensive to divorce you at the same time. He basically has a house husband, like the way of the house husband, that's his life right now. Yes, my friend.
Another con, you have to watch ads.
Oh God, I know. I bought for, I spent $50 for a panel that's later on tonight because he wanted a better clip.
You mean for this?
For a 2-minute clip, I spent $50 on it because I want to own it. And I put in the disc, and the first 2 minutes is an unskippable ad, and I'm like, I already support you. Stop telling me to support
Well,
you.
and I always found those funny because it's like, you do know that if somebody is pirate this, they're not going to see this thing saying don't pirate. So all you're doing is punishing the people that bought it legally.
And I think my favorite thing is when you got the old DVDs and they had hard-coded, I hope I'm saying that correctly because I'm really not a tech person, where you have like 5 minutes of ads for other movies, usually the movies that you would never watch in your life because you have some element of a standard.
But VHS did the same thing back in the day as well.
Yes, but you could fast forward through it. Oh, trust me, that fast forward button is the first thing I always got broken with the VHS player.
Now, what? The other thing with accessibility, yes, there is region coding on a lot of discs. But
And then you do have PAL.
But the cool thing is, for region coding, most Panasonic 4K players can bypass region coding on Blu-rays, not DVDs. Because I actually have a 4K Panasonic that when the disc loads, a region 2, like I import a lot from the UK because they do really cool editions now that come with posters and postcards of like Blazing Saddles, and I just got Amadeus and Dawn of the Dead, that the disc will say that it cannot load for the region. When you hit top menu, it loads the disc up.
No, is that perfect system? God, no. But it allows me to watch movies that are pretty gory and probably won't ever get released in America because I like bad things. So I watched them.
Yeah,
oh
but
yeah,
you don't have
here's
any-
wholesome.
And then the
Yeah,
cool
but you
thing,
don't have the taste and exploitation
Japan just
films I
did
do.
recently. They just released Macross You Remember Love 4K in Japan. They know there's legal issues with the disc, so they actually put English subtitles on it.
Yeah, because of Robotech people.
And that was actually the top-selling Blu-ray and 4K disc in Japan
From America.
from American buyers and worldwide for the month of February.
So, region coding is not really an issue anymore these days either. You can pretty much buy almost anything you want from any country if it's not physically available in basically in the US.
Now let's go to digital.
Instant access, worldwide, wherever you are, you can access it right away.
As long as you, depending on if you're have it downloaded or if it's a subscription.
And
There-
using the proper VPN to access what you want.
There are no true space limitations. Like, yes, I mean, if you have like 100 hard drives, it will take up space, but that still won't compare to having like 2,000 discs.
And you can fit like 40 anime series on a 1 terabyte hard drive. I don't know how I know that, but you can.
But it's also cross-platform, so you can watch it on your TV, you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your computer. Anything you have accessible that has a screen and audio, you can pretty much watch it. Or you can just watch it without audio if that's your thing.
If you have a USB HDMI connection, any way to hook it up, it'll play.
Next one.
So some of the cons, you need an internet connection.
So if you live in the middle of
Nowhere.
nowhere, you don't have an internet
There are
connection.
small towns around where I grew up where the internet is so bad, you wouldn't be able to have a digital collection.
But you can hear a banjo like 5 miles away.
Yeah, I took you where I grew up. It's the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, I was waiting for the cannibals to come out.
Now,
I've seen those movies.
there might be licensing issues that do not allow a certain device to have access to that content.
Or
Some services you might not be able to access it beyond that streaming network, or that streaming
country.
network, like Netflix, loves to lose stuff all the time. You only get access to it until their license has expired.
Or the really cool thing is if you have a VPN, put the VPN on in Japan and log into Netflix, you get a whole brand new catalog of things that will never be on Netflix in America. You go to the UK, you do the same thing. There's shows that will not air in the US that will air internationally that you can watch, or movies that you would have to either go to Max or Paramount to watch in the US because there's different streaming services. You go to Netflix Japan, everything's there.
You go to Amazon Prime UK, their listing is almost triple what America
BBC.
Oh, absolutely.
The BBC has their own streaming service in the UK called iPlayer that you can only access if you have a UK IP address, or you have a VPN that registers that you're in the UK.
But that means you have to have a good VPN, and we all know there's good and bad. So that's a con because you have to go searching for the right ones.
For the right stuff.
So audio and visual quality.
Now the big one, audio and visual.
Well, this is for you. Not everybody cares if it's the perfectest picture in the world where you can literally see the nose hairs on Harrison Ford's face.
Hey, as a vinyl collector, vinyl is the most superior media to listen to music.
Okay. You know how pretentious that sounds? I grew up with records. I was happy when I got rid of records and got
You're
CDs.
talking in the wrong room to somebody who knows a hell of a lot better.
I lived with records. I lived with 8 tracks, which were even better.
Now,
Awesome.
now video and audio quality is maximum, usually the maximum ability to do so, especially in 4K, because 4K discs can do up to 100 gigabytes.
For pretentious hipsters.
Quiet you. Audio is typically uncompressed audio, so they give you the best sound available.
Yeah, he wants to blow our neighbors out the walls.
You don't have any buffering or quality drops. I don't know if you've ever watched something and you just suddenly see the video quality start deteriorating. Like, what the heck just happened?
See, this is the thing.
Crunchyroll at a typical time at 7 p.m. at night.
Let me say this. He says, oh, the quality's dropping. Or I have our friend Tim in the audience saying, the quality's dropping. And I'm watching the same thing and I'm like, it looks perfectly fine.
No.
And all I'm listening to them is raging about, well, not you. You don't rage like
What do you
him.
mean I don't rage?
But he'll rage about it and I'm like, just watch it.
Because it looks well, we'll get into that for digital. But
Oh, blow me.
cons. Again, your Blu-ray requires a TV and a Blu-ray player. Now, the other hard thing is,
Oh, it also requires a television. You should say that.
I thought I did see that.
Well, everything requires a television, and not a television from the 1980s that's broken on top of another television from the 1980s.
Or you can just have
So-
one have as a backup,
And you
just
have
a
a
monitor
child
that plays.
standing on the television trying to get.
Oh, with the rabbit
It's
ears.
only available on VHS.
I have VHS still, and I've been looking for a VHS player.
What is this black box?
Do not open that and take out the tape. I will kill you because I don't have enough pencils.
When I was a former teacher and I had a 4th grade student, he brought in, we were doing the history of the Mayans and Incas and Aztecs. So they had to build a project of ancient civilizations. So one
And you
student
thought VHS tape was
brought,
an ancient
no, he brought in a whole box of cassette tapes. He's like, yeah, I can use this for my project. How? Well, these are really old. And he then suddenly he's like, wait, what is this?
Oh!
And then he started going, shh, shh, look, I'm a mummy. See, it's old.
Yeah, it made me feel.
Let's just see 10.
Yeah. So, how many people were born when VHS tapes were still used? Okay. Have you ever watched a VHS break in your player and actually see all the tape spooling everywhere and spooling out? You're like, and the worst part is if you're a kid watching a tape when you're not supposed to be watching a tape, watching this happen, you're like, I'm gonna die.
I never had that problem.
Oh God!
Because-
Watching the tape.
No. I mean, watching a tape that you weren't supposed to watch. I never had that problem.
Oh, that's because you're so wholesome. I've watched many. Yeah,
But-
the physics of what she was doing didn't really make sense when I was 10, but I understand now. But moving on.
Well, hold on. And then even Christopher Nolan has gone on to say that when they make a disc, they can control how the video quality looks. He can make the video quality be as big or small as he wants it to be.
Pretentious hipster,
Whereas
that's what I'm
for streaming, he has no control over how his movie's going to look. It just looks however the streaming network puts it out. Now, for the digital aspect, HD quality is available on most streaming networks, and a lot of them do have 4K access. The problem is, once again, you need high-speed internet to be able to stream 4K quality. Some companies are even now charging for you to access their 4K content. Netflix, you have to pay extra. So if I wanted to watch Better Call Saul in 4K, I would have had to get their 4K service.
But yeah, internet.
And then Prime, for their 4K access, you can only get it now with their ad-free version.
And if you're a gamer who likes to play a lot of online games, especially the fighting games where you're fighting against your friends who live in other homes, if you don't have good internet, it's so fun to watch you play and to watch you die trying to figure out what's happening because you're pressing the buttons and you just see it go ooh, ooh, ooh. I never knew how poorly made some video games were until you watch it in slow motion.
And that's also the reason why they now have Wi-Fi tickers on online so that people can know what your online connection is, if you're like Wi-Fi or landline.
Oh, yes.
And compression is an issue.
People still use landlines?
Yes.
Sorry, let's pause here. People still use landlines?
My parents do.
Oh my God!
Landline internet is still around because it's the only way to access.
Is that what
5G
that
internet.
shark uses when he comes to take your money?
I That was like sorry, we can continue now. I just didn't know landlines were such a thing anymore.
It's for Google Fiber. That's why what they converted the landlines to.
Okay, moving on. I have some questions.
But compression
that's fine.
in high definition is usually a non-issue. Now, if you go and decide to cram 20 episodes of a high-def anime series onto a single HD disc, then you're going to have compression issues.
Oh,
But-
you mean when I bought the entirety of Dragon Ball Z on a CDR back in 2002 for $135? I felt invincible!
And then you watch it, but the only way to watch it with the best quality was I had to watch it on the tiniest version of the
And
screen.
I couldn't watch it on my computer. My computer was too old.
So
for
I
it.
got to watch the Boo Saga before a year and a half before it hit Cartoon Network, which was awesome. But at the same time, I was like,
So you went blind while trying to watch something, but I felt invincible because I got off of eBay and I thought I was the coolest person because I was like, I can watch everything Dragon Ball Z in the early 2000s before anybody else, and then I couldn't watch it. I had to have him watch it, tell me what happened, and I was like, wait, I could just go on the internet.
but it was
yeah.
awesome. It was glorious.
It was,
Yes.
because I feel like I was gypped.
Well, that's because you didn't get to watch it. I got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I did.
And I got to go, cool, I didn't have to watch it on Cartoon Network. Okay.
I don't know what you did here, so just there.
The other thing is preservation of long-time access. Ownership guarantees you have the content for as long as you own it. This game series right here, Dot Hack, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine,
You gave us that, Tim. That's why they look familiar.
were released on PS2. They have never been released since.
CyberConnect 2 actually revealed they lost the entire source code to all 4 of those games.
Yes, they lost the source code, so they can never release them even digitally because they don't have the coding too. It would take somebody finding a way to take the original discs and emulate it to play on a modern day player, but they do not have any way of being able to release this series digitally.
The only reason Final Fantasy VIII got a remastered release is because somebody in France kept the PC version source code and Square Enix actually bought it from them.
And the cool thing with the digital is you got to spine them all together, and they created an image of a grunty, which was pretty
how
awesome.
fancy! They did a grunty. I
Because-
played all the games. I love them, but
I don't know if any of you remember the old VHSs for Dragon Ball Z, but they would line up to form a picture, which was pretty awesome.
and so that's one of the really cool things because think about. Okay, I'm gonna name a couple of movies, one of which is not necessarily the best, but actually I won't name the second one. Gone with the Wind. We all know the movie, or we should, because if you don't go to film history, you have to watch it. But as cultures change and cultures learn from their mistakes, our opinions change. And a lot of times, movies will be edited today that were made dozens of years ago. Think of, what's the dude? Star Wars, right?
George Lucas,
Yeah, you can see I'm a Star Wars fan. It's so awesome. But didn't he edit his masters of the bloody movie?
Yeah.
So you can only,
Which was also after he had fought Ted Turner against colorizing black and white
Oh
movies.
yeah, the hypocrite is strong in him. But-
Because he said Ted Turner wanted to go back and color the original film prints from black and white to color, and he was against doing that
And he
because
petitioned.
it took the movies away from their history, their audience. They grew up with them.
He refuses to get rid of the worst looking VHSs and DVDs of this bloody movie because I need the original. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna say it, the movie sucked. But I now am gonna lose a lot of friends, I will admit, because I saw somebody looking down at me. But it's, if you have people who take out, like the Simpsons episode that has Michael Jackson, whatever you think about any of that, that episode can never be on any re-releases of the series.
It's not on Disney
digital
Plus
or anything. It's a non-existent episode.
Because they considered it inappropriate because of the Michael Jackson stuff.
And like I said, wherever you
But
stand,
if
we're
you
not
have
gonna
season
destroy
3 on DVD, that episode is right on there. They can't take it away from you. They can't go in and erase the file from your disc. It is permanently on your disc.
Now, you may know something that I don't know about technology. Maybe they can, but at least as of right now, they can't.
It's just like Macross here, that Harmony Go will no longer allow to be released on physical media or even streaming in America. They can't take away my DVDs.
Well, watch somebody from Harmony Gold walk in here and take it. I would pay to see that.
And then there are other aspects that are just not popular enough to put on streaming. And like this one franchise called the J9 trilogy that Discotech put out on Blu-ray. It's an older anime trilogy series that will never be allowed to be streamed because it's just not big enough. It's not worth the license.
Actually, it's on Retro Crush, Discotech's own streaming service.
Oh, okay.
15.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now digital. Oh wait, the cons.
Well, we've already talked.
Yeah, we talk about physical damage, disc rot, and you need to have players to access it.
Yeah, I have never actually seen true disc rot. I actually want to see it. I'm about to do an experiment on a bad movie, but
I think I almost had a disc like that happen to me once, but it's been so long, so I don't remember why that
Oops,
happened.
I put this on the
one
digital chair.
advantage of us
Oh
being
my
in a dry
God,
climate,
Princess.
disc rot from humidity is not very likely to happen.
Thank you, God.
so no physical degradation. So content stays the same quality as when you download it, or hopefully does.
Easy to store and back up.
Cons. Actually, before I do this, I should say the con. Having a wife who thinks she knows what she's doing accidentally reformats the hard drive, wipes out all data from the hard drive, thinking she's doing something to help. And then when I try to pretend that I can recover, I have to go in the room, give him the old hard drive that was a brick, and honey, there's nothing on here. And he just lovingly stares at me, blank face for 5 minutes of, what? What do you mean there's nothing on there? I think when I went to put something of my own on there, I reformatted the hard drive, and it's taken him, about nearly 15 years to recover what he can, and he still cannot recover everything that was on that hard drive. And let me say, he reminds me of that every day.
We call it the Great Reformatting of 2014?
12.
12, yeah, it's 2012.
And let's not forget your experience with your PS3.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had
So-
the original backwards compatible PS3s.
So, perfect example, I was playing the second Dot Hack series on my PS3 because it was backwards compatible. I get to the second game in the series. I've spent about 40 hours in the first game, get to continue, because Dot Hack, when you go to the next game, you get to continue with all your items, your level and everything in the next one. 20 minutes into the new game, it just freezes up. My PS3 shuts off.
He got the yellow light.
I turn it on, just won't turn on, won't eject the disc or anything. And I just sat there, just like, okay.
Oh yeah, no, I
This
thought
is
he was
fun.
going to become a serial killer at that particular moment of my life. I was like, okay, this is what takes to that next step. Good to know. So access can be revoked if you are on a platform that removes stuff. If you have hard drives and they can decay and wear and tear because they're technology as well, or like I said, you have a really brilliant person who has multiple degrees and is very smart but doesn't know what to do with technology. Or companies can edit or remove content as they like.
Sony has done this with games on the people's
Disney
PlayStation
has
accounts.
as well. Songs of the South, not the most appropriate thing in the world, but it was a Disney short film that came out a long time ago. It is in the vault and it will never be re-released ever again. So if you want to know about our history, you'll never be able to see it because it's not even available on streaming.
And even Amazon several years ago had a moment where all their Disney-based, they had a disagreement with Disney. So all the digital files for Disney movies were removed from Amazon. People lost the movies they paid for digitally. And the response was from Amazon, well, you're only buying a license. You're not actually buying it to own.
And what about your friend who spends $1,000 on every
Dead or Alive
Dead
costume?
or Alive item And if that account were to ever disappear, that's $1,000 he will never see again.
Or who owns a Kindle? Amazon just changed their policy on that now that they, as soon as the book's license is revoked, they'll be automatically pulling it from their Kindle.
But the cool thing about when you have a physical book is it's yours. You can turn the pages. You can do whatever you want with it.
You can even smell it if you really wanted to. But
Hey, opening a new book smells good.
yes, they don't have smell-o-vision anymore.
Has anyone ever watched Psychopaths? There's a scene where Makishima says there's nothing like actually turning the page to an actual book.
He's talking about William Gibson and Philip K. Dick at that point too.
And I will say, in the world today of real-life Fahrenheit 451, I think there's a value in having physical books at this time because you never know when those might be pulled and burned from you.
Now,
Oh, well, you're leaving me from Fahrenheit 451? Wow. I
now
was even
there is
getting
also,
political.
before we get to community and culture, which kind of ties into this, because this is my favorite game of all time,
Yes,
Super
you'll
Metroid.
tell me every time.
I saved for weeks of my allowance to buy this game at $70 frickin'. Because cartridges back then were expensive. But the cool thing is, I have a physical copy of Super Metroid. Yes, I also own it on the Wii and the Wii U and the Game Boy Advance and the DS and the... Do I have the Switch version? No, I don't.
No.
The Super Nintendo Classic.
You plan to get
But
the Switch version.
The problem is this cartridge is dead. It's deader than a door now. I can open up and do the solder a new battery in there to give it new life, but
I wouldn't trust him with any kind of flame things ever.
Marcus,
what?
you could potentially bring it to my house. My dad is pretty good at fixing it.
Oh,
I'm good. I've got digital versions
better
that.
never do that because he buys all these games and I'm like, when are we gonna actually play a PS1 game again?
When games go all digital, I will play my entire backlog of everything I
Yes,
physically own.
I actually have what? You, David, Kevin, him. Multiple people that have, I don't know if you have a bunker, Timmy, of classic games that you plan to play when the world goes all digital. I was like, this is the stand all over again.
So, community and culture. Oh my god, I got this cool limited edition item. I am so awesome.
No, you're not.
And you have people like, oh, you found that? That's really cool. So it's kind of like this whole I got this, it's a rare to find item.
Just so you know, people haven't been saying that for the last 20 years.
Why? It's tied to a status, especially in the anime community, because you own something limited. Like this Macross. Do you remember Love? It's like, oh my god, you own that? Yes, I do.
And not everyone cares. That's the problem.
But yes, not everyone cares. Some people are like, yeah, so you own a special edition. Whoop-de-frickadoo.
Yeah, you have a poster that's folded in a case for the last 20 years that now shows the bend mark so you can never put it in the frame. Congratulations!
Now, digital. Pros, you don't have to worry about that status. You can access your anime as a fan anywhere as long as you have a VPN. Streaming platforms may have exclusive events. Maybe they will have live events or virtual events.
Yeah, they do.
Virtual conventions became a thing during COVID.
Oh yeah, Crunchyroll did that. I used to make their stickers. They looked ugly.
On the downside, you don't get to touch it. You don't own it. It's not yours.
Please don't say it like that because it sounds very perverted.
And you don't get the joy of going to your shelf and saying, I have all this. I may never watch it, but I have all this.
Stop calling me out.
Okay, let me ask this question. Who actually cares about seeing a collection?
Hi.
Oh wow, okay. Who looks at their friends that have a collection like, wow, you spent a lot of money for nothing? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Now, at the same time, Who gets a digital copy of something because everybody has recommended it? It's the greatest thing in the world. You are going to so love this. And you watch it and you're like, I spent money on this hype? Crap. Who wants to return something they bought digitally? Who wants to return something they bought physically and can't?
Okay, perfect example of one thing. Many years ago, I am a huge Resident Evil fan. I bought Resident Evil 6. I hated Resident Evil 6 so much, I immediately sold not just Resident Evil 6 to make money back, but I sold almost my entire Resident Evil collection because I was so pissed
Oh, it
at
was
that game.
ridiculous.
Jesus.
Now he's spending more money to rebuy everything from Resident Evil.
Except 6.
No, I did buy 6 because I have 7 and 8, so I gotta have 6.
Yeah, he is a completionist.
Look, I completely get it.
So here's some really good quotes that.
Hey, I actually held myself because there was a dealer in the dealer's room that had Resident Evil 0. I was like, ooh.
Just wait for the remake.
You buy any more Resident Evil games, I won't divorce you. I will get another cat.
Alright, got some quotes here. Christopher Nolan had said there is a danger these days that if things only exist in the streaming version, they do get taken down, they come and go. As we see with like HBO Max, where it's a revolving door of content. Looney Tunes was just removed from Max. So there is no
You know how horrible that is? I don't care if you've never seen Looney Tunes or you really don't care about it specifically yourself. Looney Tunes is what really defined cartoons of today. And if you can't at least see where cartoons came from, because it's not like you can go out and watch Betty Boop anymore. Because, oh my God, that is so inappropriate. I'm like, dude, that's from the 40s.
There's a lot of Popeye serials you can't even watch anymore.
Well, remember the Batman thing we watched? So, Guillermo del Toro said physical media is almost a Fahrenheit 451, where people memorize entire books and thus become the book they love. Level of responsibility. So people are going to have to now, if they do digital only, will have to watch it and then try to memorize it because it may not last forever. Meanwhile, Philippe Tremblay from Ubisoft said, one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. And he was talking about that gamers need to start getting used to not owning their content, that they need to start accepting subscription services for gaming.
Let's just think about this here. If Assassin's Creed Shadows flops, Ubisoft will be completely owned by Tencent.
Next one. So, which is actually better? There is no true option. It's based on your preference. Do you want that ownership? Do you just want to have access to it to watch whatever you want? Do you value having special editions? Do you have space? Do you not care about the space? Do you move around so much that having a collection doesn't matter? You have to decide which you ultimately prefer.
Alrighty, so we're going to be giving away this Rostafon box set to whoever can answer this.
And this is a limited edition.
Yeah, this is a limited edition. Now, it's going to be...
And there's also some autographs in there.
Whoever can come within 5 percentage points of this answer, Sony on their fiscal report for 2024 revealed what percentage of gamers download their games digitally on Sony's platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 95%?
No.
Nope.
75?
Yes.
75.
75 is exactly how much.
I
It's
read
kind of-
those reports every time they come out.
Now, to be fair,
They're interesting.
depending on the games, there is value. If you're playing, like, if you're a computer gamer, there's value in downloading a lot of the games if you can. There's no right or wrong. Like, the hard part for me is I am such a casual gamer that if I just downloaded games to play, I would have no room for anything else I do, and then I would accidentally delete them and never have them again. Like I deleted your hard drive. I love you, hubby.
But on the other hand, for like anime, I feel more compelled to watch something if I have actually paid for it, if I own it, as opposed to streaming, because I'll watch one episode streaming like, oh, that was really good, and then next thing I know, 4 or 5 years have gone by.
Oh,
and
like Overlord season 4?
Yes. Or like the new Gundam series. We went to see the new Gundam movie when it came out this month in theaters. I'm like, cool, but I'll wait till it's out on Blu-ray before I watch it.
And that'll be probably next year for Shout Factory.
So, with that in mind, any questions about physical or digital?
How do you approach, since you are physical only for everything, it sounds like, games that you get them, and then there's like a day one patch you have to download anyway, sometimes for the game to even work. Would you consider that still physical because you bought a disc, or is that digital in your...
I still consider it physical because there are still ways, if for some worst case scenario, to work around that.
Well, patches, unfortunately, to fix the damn game.
I mean,
kind of need.
PS2, there is a game called Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2. The end of the game, the final cutscene, the audio's out of sync, so when the good guy's talking, it's the bad guy actually speaking. When the bad guy's talking on screen, it's the good guy talking. You can't fix that. There is no patch to update that. But, so... there are still ways for, even games that have day one patches, there's still ways to work around it at worst case scenario.
Now, what I think of as digital only...
Is that what you were getting at?
Sort of. I mean, it's interesting though, because like, I buy all of my Nintendo Switch games digital, because I am a casual gamer, and for me, I just don't want the space taken up because of those things. Now, it goes every time you start it up, and it says checking if you can play the software if you're online. Some people say, well, when Nintendo shuts that down, I won't be able to play those. I'm pretty confident people will be able to work around that, though.
Yeah, that I figured there'll be a workaround. You just won't get, you won't be able to just play with all the glitches fixed.
Yeah.
But for me, it's still, that for me, as long as I still have it. Now, there are some things I have bought digitally, but I've owned, like GTA, the PS4 versions of the GTA games. I bought them digitally because I own the PS2 versions. So if I at least own a copy physically, I may buy a digital one, but I also use money that people gave me for the PSN.
He won't go out of his way to spend his own money. It's actually quite hilarious. He will only do it if people give him gift cards. I'm like, Jesus. But like, there are certain games out there that were released that you had to download the entire game. It was basically an install disc. That I don't think of as physical. I think of that as digital because they're just giving you an install.
And that's what Ubisoft does with most of their games.
And actually, thinking about the Switch one, there is one note: I don't buy games for Switch. Are the ones that only half the games on the cartridge, and you have to download the other half. Because to me, that's
exactly what I was asking about, though, for the discs, I guess.
Okay, that I tend to try to avoid. But then right now at this point, my franchises are Yakuza, Resident Evil, Metroid, and what's the other big franchise I'm into right now?
I don't know.
Animal Crossing.
No, not Animal Crossing.
I buy the most like inappropriate games for public consumption because you know, like watching somebody use a lightsaber in the bathroom is just too cool for me.
But thank you guys so much for attending. I hope you had fun. And until next time, hopefully you come to our panels later on this weekend.
And I do have a panel.